Dan!
Don't be racist, man.
What? Oh no, you're taking it a very different way.
Yeah, well, our listeners might as well.
So,
As long as we talk enough about Infinity War and God of War, just all the war.
Right,
If we talk about war enough, we can avoid the war, which is Dan's.
If you come up with good topics, they get called out specially. Not cultural transmission.
Look. All
Why
right.
does that sound like cultures are just in the air infecting other cultures?
Because they are.
I caught some of that cultural transmission last week.
You've gone into remission.
Cultural transmission. Going into remission.
That's pretty good.
Make that
Here we
video.
are, we're fishing for some compliments and subscribe.
Oh,
It's not even on YouTube.
it tailed off at the end there.
I guess not. We don't even have a name yet. But
Let's get rid of that shit.
so this episode is called Spoilers because that's what it's going to be.
We will discuss God of War and Infinity War
In
very spoiler heavy.
And Total War.
details.
There's a lot of war.
Total War. Double War. I'm Luke.
You are Luke. I'm Dan.
I'm Gabe.
He looks a bit upset that
He
you get to
does.
start it this week.
I always start
You
it.
catch him cold.
You must have caught something.
I caught some of that cultural transmission.
You caught some dress sense.
Well, look, just... No, I haven't.
What is that?
What is that?
Well, there's
I
no
hadn't even
point...
noticed. I've been
no-
sat next to you all day.
There's no point looking and going, what is that on an audio
That's
transmission?
what there is, because
Well,
then you
that's
describe
the-
it.
then you describe.
Alright,
Well, there's a weird blue flamingo on the left there.
Alright, so I'm just pulling the shirt taut so people can see. But,
on this audio.
flip off. No, it's by the same guy who did The Great Wave.
I was just about to say, it looks like a badly drawn version of the Great Wave.
Well, good to know that you recognised it.
I don't know why I'm laughing. I don't know what the Great Wave is.
It's
Badly drawn comic.
It's like a famous Japanese portrait, but
It's not a portrait.
well, like a picture.
It's a print of a giant
GIF.
wave.
Yeah, there you go. It's a big
The
wave.
Great Wave off Kanagawa.
That's a great pronunciation.
Alright.
Yeah, underneath my plaid tee today, I'm also wearing a print shirt of one of Hokusai's prints. So,
So,
good times.
Infinity War, Gabe.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's almost as good as my shirt. No, I kid, it's better.
It's currently sitting, I checked, 9.2 on IMDb, which puts it up there with films like Shawshank and stuff like that.
Really?
Biggest opening weekend yet of the Disney Marvel blockbuster buster up of records.
Okay,
I'm not
but how-
surprised though, because it is the 10 years sort
10
of
years.
build up to this point, so
A long time coming.
yeah.
See, I don't know. I'm not necessarily saying that the great films don't get made now, but is
You
it
aren't
just
completely saying that.
okay? Maybe
His
I'm
eyes
saying
are
that.
saying that.
Maybe I'm saying that.
It's not great because it's new.
No. I appreciate it's probably a great film, but I just on the basis that it's taken a lot of money. Well, there's a lot more people to go and see it, so it's probably going to take more money.
Well, yeah, that'll be
How many people are in the world?
But in terms of a
2
rating,
billion?
oh, it's now down to 8.9. There you go. You got your wish. It's now 0.4 beneath Shawshank or something like 0.6.
And the time it took him to tap the table,
Yeah, but
IMDb drops.
But what did that? The whole point is that doesn't really mean a lot, does it? I mean,
It just
you
means
went
people.
what did you think? Was it a good film?
Yes, I really, really enjoyed it. I was worried that because I think I've expressed worries that I have with this and Future.
Yeah.
They smashed that. I thought personally, anyway.
Well, you mean you thought it was a lot better than
I've-
what it's been talked about?
No, than what I thought it was going to be. Because I don't like going into a movie with other people's reviews or expectations, because then it changes how you feel. If I sit here for weeks and weeks telling Gabe something was the best film ever,
Yeah.
and then he goes in with that higher bar,
Yeah.
and then he's more likely to not enjoy it because of that.
Yeah.
I mean, that happened with me when I watched Beauty and the Beast. Not the new one, the classic one. It was hyped up. Like a co-worker hyped it up weeks and weeks. And then I watched it and I was like, it's alright.
just thought about awesome.
It takes it away because you go in with these massive expectations. So I sort of ignored that. I went in with how I thought it would go, which I thought would be kind of classic. Oh, everyone's just sort of here. Here's a bad guy. Let's go beat the bad guy. Cool. Which is what the Justice League one was like, and it was just a bit terrible.
To be fair, also Age of Ultron and the first Avengers was kind of like that.
Yeah,
it was.
They did kind of follow that arc. I mean, that's
no,
every
but
single
this
one
was different because individually, this is what I was going to say to you earlier when you asked about it, but didn't want to before this. Individually, it paid homage to what makes each individual like superhero great. So like the introductions of all the first time you see, and here's where the spoilers come in. So the first time you see the Guardians of the Galaxy, like in all of their films, they've always got like their mixtape and they're always playing like classic songs. The first time they come in, they're all sitting in the ship, they're all singing along, and the music's playing. They're all having a laugh with that. First time you see Spider-Man, he's on a school bus and he's with his mate and he's just being like a dumb, goofy kid.
Yeah.
And so is the mate. So it's like, and the first time you see Tony Stark, he's with Pepper, and it's about him and Pepper's relationship. Like all of those films sort of have that as an underlying theme.
Yeah.
So it goes in to every one of them, if that makes sense. And it's sort of like this individual sort of films, and then brings them all together like that way. That's what made it cool, was it paid homage that way. The other thing that was so much better, Thanos was humanized so much in terms of like. It made you see a lot of his pain, his struggle, his internal dilemma, and all that stuff. It made him a real bad guy, not just like Ultron, like I've been built, I'm a computer now, I'll kill you.
It's like, well, you haven't seen Black Panther, but there's a similar kind of level of, he's not a one-note villain. But what I loved about Thanos was when you watch it, he gets the grim, dark superhero arc of he's resigned to, he's got to make lots of sacrifices to achieve his plans.
That's a key point.
He believes that what he's doing is right, and he has to talk to his villains, which is our heroes, and he's often paired off against heroes of a similar personality type, which is a classic Marvel thing. So Iron Man, but he's evil. It's like Black Panther, but he's evil. He's like Ant-Man, but he's evil.
Yeah.
So Thanos' personality type of quite egotistical, but at the same time, like strong-willed.
Yeah.
Strong-willed, long-suffering. Tony Stark, he's often paired off with strong-willed, strong out the sense of anxiety and kind of worry. The time he does meet Star-Lord's humor almost rubs off on him. So it's kind of through those lenses as well. We see him go through like the big sacrifice he makes. He has to face off against both him and the Marvel heroes, seemingly impossible odds, albeit over whether or not he can clench his fist by the end of the film. Plot point.
Part of the brilliance of it as well is that he's actually not a bad guy who's like, I'm going to kill you because I don't like you, I'm an anti-hero. Like with the Black Panther one you mentioned, he was like, I want to be king of Wakanda, so I need to kill you to become king of Wakanda. And that was the whole thing, and he was like, oh, this was ripped from me from birth, you guys are all pricks, I'm going to kill you. And that's sort of like the feeling of a lot of the films, is like, this guy's just a bad guy because he's a dick.
Well, yeah, there's no. That's a lot of the problem with just general bad guys in any film. It's the fact that there's no depth to them.
There are several occasions Thanos goes up to a superhero and says, "I like you," and doesn't kill them because of it. Yeah. Like, there's a moment where nearer the end, he's like stabs Iron Man through like the gut, and then he's sort of like, "I hope the people of Earth, or at least half the population that remain, remember you because you're a great man." And he also says it to Quill at one point as well, because he has to.
He says outright to him as well, like, "I like you."
Yeah, and like Gamora, who's the
Does that
Green
not
Woman,
make him pretty creepy though?
No, like
if you stab someone and say, "I like you,"
no, because there's a whole
level of like serial murder.
There's a whole. This is what I mean. There's a whole depth to him. So like with the scene with Quill, like Quill has to. Gamora's asked Quill to shoot her so that she can't reveal where one of the Infinity Stones is, and he's obviously in pain in that moment, like crying or whatever, and then eventually pulls the trigger to do it, but because Thanos has the reality stone at this point, the bullets that come out are just bubbles because he's altered the reality of the gun, and then that's when he says to him, he's like, "You've got guts," or something like that, and then disappears off. And then I'm kind of like, that's the moment where you're a little bit like, okay, he's maybe not as much of an arse. He just feels like he has this ultimate mission to complete, and he doesn't want anyone stopping his way, which is why when Iron Man is fighting him, he still stabs him, but he's like, I still have this mission, I still like you, you're just in my way right now.
Yeah. And there's also a moment of respect as well. So as a villain, but also it's the fact that he's the main character, really, of the film.
He really is.
But what you're describing is a psychological break. Like that's what he's suffering. You have people in normal life that have these sort of moments. They feel like they have a mission. I mean.
Well, this is what I'm saying. In normal life, this is what I mean. They humanise this character so much and so well. Like it was so good.
He's not a hero by any stretch of the term. He is crazy.
Yeah. So just to sort of clarify this,
he's three-dimensional crazy.
His whole goal comes from his home planet of Titan. All of the resources got used up, and he said to the people on Titan, we should just randomly kill 50% of the population, so that way we don't use up our resources and people don't go hungry and all that kind of stuff. And they ignored that, and then eventually the planet got wiped out because of the use of resources. There wasn't enough to go around anymore. So he believes his ultimate mission is to go to every planet, wipe out 50% of the population, and then that way the planet can survive. So he has Gamora's was once his sort of stepchild, essentially, that he sort of inherited and stole from her homeland.
Yeah.
When he invaded the homeland, he kills half the people, and they show this as well, and they show this story, and he's sort of talking with a young Gamora in the background. You see his armies they've literally got people in the town lined up one side or the other. 50% of them will just get gunned down, and the other 50 are just left alive. And he believes he's the only one with the will to do that to the universe, because people need it. It's just no one is as strong as him to make those sacrifices to do it. And that's why I put that as my first key point of sacrifice. There are several occasions throughout the film where a hero could sacrifice someone else with their sort of, their allowance. Yeah, that makes sense. They've said, yes, kill me, and that way you'll stop him. Mm-hmm. But they aren't willing to sacrifice someone else. Whereas the one key moment in the film when someone does sacrifice someone, which is Thanos sacrificing Gamora, that's when he gets what he wants. And that's a key thing. So Thor is getting killed by Thanos at the start. And then he says to Loki, give me the Tesseract and then I'll stop killing him. And Loki's like, yeah, alright, cool, whatever, I don't care. But then 5 seconds into Thor screaming for a little bit, he's like, okay, yeah, stop, I'll give it to you, hands it over. Then there's the Quill with Gamora thing where he can't really follow through on it. And the other sacrifice there is that once he has killed her and he finds out, if he doesn't punch Thanos in the face, he's still under mind control, and they could have taken the gauntlet off. So he can't make the internal sacrifice to get over that. Then there's another one. I'm forgetting them. There's so many moments where someone could sacrifice someone else, but they don't. And Thanos is the only one in the film that actually does. The only other time someone does is where I'd say it was Doctor Strange, because he sacrifices. Well, he doesn't make the sacrifice of Iron Man, if that makes sense. Thanos is killing Iron Man, and then Doctor Strange says, "I'll give you the stone if you don't kill him." And it's one of those moments where you're like, you've fallen into this same trap. But the reason I think it's different with him is because, and this is where this point comes in, about he's seen 14 million possibilities in the future, and after he does that he says this was the only way. And I get the feeling the reason he let himself and everyone else and 50% of the universe die for that moment is because he knows Tony Stark has to be alive to bring everyone back. And that was the one chance he saw of it going correctly, right, if that makes sense, or for everyone being alive.
So he was putting his stone in the river, changes it just a slight amount.
So I guess that's what it was, is he's seen all the possibilities and he's tried to, as best as he can, follow it to the one that wins. And the one that wins is with 50% of people dying for now, at least.
But just briefly, because obviously you've done a lot of research into this, so obviously you said...
That's just watching the film.
Well, but you obviously know a little bit.
That's 3 hours of research.
So, when it comes to actually him himself, though, he said he comes from a planet. So why is he so powerful?
Well,
so I know that there's a story about Mistress Death looking into his eyes or whatever than that, and so
the original story of Thanos is that he's in love with Death, and the whole point of his mission is to impress Death herself. That's not in the film.
So the film just ignores that.
In terms of MCU, it's not really explained. He's just this evil guy. It's kind of touched upon in Guardians of the Galaxy films, a little bit with the original Gamora storyline, and things like that. There's little bits, but it's not truly explained. But he is super duper powerful. I mean, even without there are many times even at the start he got in a fight with the Hulk. Could have just used even the one stone he had at the time to just overpower him and get rid of him, because at the time he had the Power Stone. But the guy, I think, called the Moor, who's one of his children, was like, "Oh, let him have his fun," and then Hulk's bashing into him, and then Thanos is just just does him in, and easily. And even at the end of the film, when he's got like 5 out of the 6, like
Most
there's
of
so
the
many
time.
Avengers in line, like going over to him, and as opposed to using the stone, sometimes he just hits them with the other hand because he knows he can. Like there's a moment where Captain America's sort of like fighting back against him, like trying to push his hand away or whatever, and he just comes across and he's just like just smacks him straight into the ground and off. And it's like, yeah, he likes to have his fun. He's a bit sadistic.
So then, why has he waited this long? Then?
I think
That I'm sure. Probably to find the location of all of them, I suppose.
I suppose that, like, if you go back in the films, like the Ether one was hidden away by the Asgard, so he wouldn't know.
Well, I think it was to wait for them all to reveal themselves, and once they had, and I think it's only the Soul Stone is the only one that hasn't been revealed, and that was the original mission he sent Gamora on.
So is he in his head? Obviously, you don't know. He's not a psychologist.
I am that.
And to be fair, if you were Thanos' psychologist, I feel like you'd be on a high hourly wage. So how many people have you killed today, Thanos? But in his head, he sees himself as a child of prophecy. Like he sees what he's doing as almost prophetic.
Yes, they refer to that in the film at one point, like he sees himself as some kind of prophet, and but based on his actions, he genuinely believes that what he's doing will save the universe. Like he says at one point,
but save the universe from what you say, going and like reducing 50%, but like the human race's population curve is 50% of the population is the last 100 years.
Well, he thinks that the universe's resources will be used up, so you just wipe out 50%, you solve a lot of the problems. And in some of the, like, he refers back to some of the examples of planets that he's already had, where I think he says, and the quote is like, children are no longer hungry, they grow up with full bellies, you grew up in the slums, Gamora, and stuff like that. Like that's not happening anymore because of what I did. So I mean,
but that's the argument of a maniacal.
Yeah, no one said he's not crazy.
You just said he was a lovely guy.
They do they do as much as they can to like humanise him. But
no, I get what you're saying, and it does sound like they've done a good job of giving him like a depth of character at least.
Like genuinely, like there's the whole scene like where he has to so the Soul Stone, to reveal itself to a person, you have to sacrifice something you love.
Yeah.
And he's atop this tower with Gamora, and then he turns around and like she's laughing at him, and she's like, I never thought, I always was worried about you completing this mission, but now I know that you can't because you don't love anything because you're crazy. And she turns around, he's crying. And then this is the moment I was talking about he could make the sacrifice because he's crying. It's like, oh shit, he actually does love her, and the fact that the Soul Stone revealed itself after he killed her was, okay, yeah, you genuinely must have loved her, or else it wouldn't have come to you. So yeah, that was that moment where it was like, well, there is a bit of humanity to him. Yeah. It's just he knows and he wants, like, he believes what he's doing is so righteous that he's willing to lay down everything else he loves and sacrifice everything else he's got to accomplish this goal.
So basically the film just preaches against fundamentalism.
Well, you can come away with it whatever crap you want.
No, I'm not.
It was a beautiful spectacle.
I'm not trying to
watch the film.
I'm not trying to say that as like as a trying to read too much, but that's exactly what he's doing. He believes way too much in his own goal, and he won't listen to anyone else's point of view. Like he's taken it upon himself to kill 50% of all life in the universe.
Well, he believes, based on the experiences he's had, that what he's doing is right, and no one. Well, yeah, he, like I said, he's worked it up in his own mind that no one else has the will or strength to do what his mission is, and no one else is willing to even admit it sometimes that this is what needs to be done. I think that comes from the experiences that he alludes to on his home planet.
Yeah,
I reckon. I mean, again, spoilers, but no one really tries to talk him.
Too late for that.
Yeah,
just every so often I'll throw it in case someone's just skipped ahead. But it's definitely the other thing is in the film, no one really tries to talk him out of that way of thinking, other than you're wrong, and also I'ma punch you. I mean, which is another.
I mean, at this point, once he's already wiped out a few planets, I feel like you probably feel talking's out of the question.
But it's also the thing of he takes the time to sit down and explain stuff. I mean, admittedly, he's like a 20-foot tall hench purple guy who can go toe to toe with the Hulk, and unlike the Hulk, he used brute force.
Not even toe to toe, you demolished him at the start.
Well, yeah, but it was also the beautiful moment of the Hulk was wild swings, brawling, and he was very much, you could see, an almost like martial arts level of I'm gonna step out your way, land a few hits, grab, smash. Like a self-control to it.
Yeah, I was about to say, you definitely see like determination, focus, like throughout the entire film from him. Like he knows what his goal is, and it doesn't matter what there is.
Yeah.
Like whether it's someone he loves, it doesn't matter. He'll get rid of you. You're in the way of his goal right now. And that's kind of like the beauty of it at the same time, is that you kind of almost understand him at some points, and you're like, this is weird, and that's why I think it's so good.
Well, we've
Right.
seen that journey before quite a bit. Think about early Batman, like Batman Begins, a similar sort
Yeah.
of sacrifice everything, and then The Dark Knight, you have to choose between Rachel or Harvey Dent.
But yeah, I think the running
That's a
theme for
good
this
comparison.
film was definitely sacrifice, and it was the heroes aren't willing to sacrifice someone they love to stop him. So Loki is, don't sacrifice Thor, you don't have to reveal where the Tesseract is. Doctor Strange, don't say anything, let Iron Man die, you don't have to reveal where the time stone is. But that one is the one that I'm a bit like, okay, that seems fair enough, because he saw into the future.
But it's
so
also-
he probably knew, but
Like all of the character growth, because initially I think a lot of them would have done without hesitation. Like initially Doctor Strange went, nah, I'm going to use this time stone and sort you out. Or initially Loki probably would have been like, nah, Thor, screw you, ha ha ha.
Oh, that was the other one, sorry, was the other sacrifice was Vision is sort of in love with the Scarlet Witch, and that's sort of like one of the parts at the beginning. And
that's a thing for the whole film.
Yeah, and she has like a point where they're sort of discussing at like the old Avengers sort of HQ, like Vision's like, you need to kill me, and Captain America's like, no, if one person dies it's not good enough, and it's kind of like the entire team in that moment make this choice of, we're not going to kill you and we're not going to blow up the Infinity Stone, even though we could, because Scarlet Witch could do it right now. We'll try and get it out of you safely. So that's why they go to Wakanda, to try and get it out of him safely. Battle at Wakanda ensues, and then at the last minute, that's when the Scarlet Witch is like, okay, I'll blow it up now. But by that point, Thanos has the time stone, and he's just like, oh, okay, yeah, you just got rid of my Infinity Stone, cool. A little crank back on the old time module there. Oh, look, he's back. Cheers, mate. Oh, done. Click, you're all dead. Like,
Yeah.
Literally the climax of the film, right?
bar the whole Thor arc of going to. So one thing that's funny that kind of caught me off guard is Peter Dinklage plays a dwarf that's actually giant in terms of size, and it's quite funny because they like refer to the dwarf on
and
this
then it's like
forge.
30
You get there
foot
and
tall,
and you're like, that's Peter Dinklage.
it's a solid moment of like, oh, a dwarf. Oh yeah, Peter Dinklage's voice. I know what to expect. Nope.
The whole Thor thing was epic though.
So So what you've just explained there kind of hits on the whole fact of that every superhero doesn't like, with excuse the pun, the vision to see what's coming. Like every one of them sort of can't. Like Thanos has planned ahead for millennia and he knows what's going to happen.
I don't know if he's been around for thousands of years.
But he's planned ahead.
Maybe 20.
And his plan won't be stopped. Whereas every one of the superheroes, or what you regard, they just are purely reactionary. They purely react to his moves. They can't see the future. And when it comes to those moments of sacrifice, they've got no idea what they should or shouldn't do. And because they're good people, they fail and they fall back. And at the end of the day, they all die.
Well, they've got lines they won't cross.
Well, yeah. But
they set up a few plans.
But what I'm getting at is the fact that
Thanos had to make the first move for
Yeah.
them to
they have a natural sort of redundancy that they can't win.
break out of.
They can't beat him because he's the one that's, as you said before, he's prepared to go further.
This is one of the
That table
beauties
down.
of this first movie is like every other superhero film you've probably ever seen, it's always about we don't have to sacrifice one person, we can do this, and then overall, yeah, we do overpower it and we do win. And in this one, it's like, oh no, we don't have to sacrifice anyone because we can do this. Oh no,
Yeah.
okay, now we're wrong. And it's like several of you had that opportunity and none of you took it, and had you have done, you would have just succeeded in your mission.
I think they only could have gotten away with this sort of move with the sort of saying, there will be a conclusion next year. That's 100% guaranteed. But also,
I would have been satisfied if it left it where it is.
10 years of goodwill to kind of build up these characters, so that the punch when half of them do fizzle away, and also the punch of every time they are defeated, like, oh no. Say maybe you're not a big fan of Black Panther, but oh no, Spider-Man, or there's so many different characters brought together. There's so many moments as well where I was like, oh no, this is just like episode 5 of Star Wars. They just keep losing.
Individual arcs in that film is so good as well.
Yeah.
Like there's the whole, like I said, the first time you see Iron Man, he's with Pepper, and he's talking about, he's like, oh, when you have those dreams where something happens and it's completely different to what you changed it to, and he's like, yeah, so I had a dream last night that's kind of like that, and it was about us having a kid. We're not having a kid, are we? It felt real. We're having a kid, like that, and then she's like, no, we're not expecting a kid. And then you kind of touch on the whole father-son relationship he has with Spider-Man on and off throughout their films. And then at the end, where Thanos clicks his fingers, like everyone that is dying is slowly sort of fading and turning to dust.
Yeah.
And there's this moment that probably cut me the deepest, where Spider-Man's like, "Sir, I don't want to go," and then like just runs over and just starts hugging him, and he's like, "I don't want to go, don't let me go," like that. And I was just like, "This is too much." I was like, "That's getting." No, genuinely, that one was so.
And the two actors do such a good performance of making it a real moment.
Especially those two actors, because I mean,
they've got great chemistry though.
They might have, but they're very comedic characters. They're short one-liner kind of characters. They're not deep emotional characters.
That's a really good point. Is where Spider-Man first meets Doctor Strange. He's talking to him, and he's like, "Hi, my name's Peter," and then he's like, "Doctor Strange." He's like, "Oh, made-up names. Okay, I'm Spider-Man."
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
That cracks me up so much because I'm like, well, Doctor Strange is his real name, so it's like it just makes me love the way that he's like, "Oh, made-up names." Okay.
I also love that even in the Doctor Strange's film, like the villain goes, "No, I'm Doctor Strange. Well, we can't pick our names. I guess you go with you."
Yeah, but those little interactions made me laugh so much, and there were so many of them throughout the film, like different jabs at other heroes and stuff. Like I Am Groot and Captain America, where it was like in the Thor's like met Groot and they're on the battlefield at Wakanda, and Thor's finally come in and sort of save the day with like his new hammer / axe, which they've referred to it as both. It looks more like an axe to me, but okay. And then they're on the battlefield and Thor just turns around and he's like, "Oh, Rogers, meet my tree," like that, and just points to Groot, and Groot's like, "I am Groot," and then Captain America turns around and he's like, "I am Steve Rogers."
Like the 10,000% earnestness that Chris Evans is like, "My name's Steve Rogers." It takes a complete break from the incessant violence to sort of point to his chest and very crudely say, "My name is Steve Rogers."
Oh, one of the epic things, apart from this opening sequence as well, is you never actually see the Hulk. There's a couple of fights where Bruce is like on
really
the battlefield or something, and he's like, "Come on, I need you, come out," and then you see his head sort of change to green and like Hulk come out and he's like, "No!" So what do you mean no? Like, so it was one of those that I kind of enjoyed just on the purpose of the amount of times where it's like, we have a Hulk, when he comes in and it's like, that's a bit of a punchline. Like that was the punchline Loki used at the start, was like Thanos is sort of giving them up and he holds out the Tesseract and he's like, "You're forgetting one thing, we have a Hulk," and he comes out of nowhere and Thanos is just like, "Yeah, fuck off." Like, sorry for all the swearing this episode, but it needs to be done. This is epic.
very animated.
It's such a good film.
I think as well,
so unreal.
It says something about Thanos when the Hulk is like, "Nah, I'm done.
Yeah, like he scared the Hulk so much into
he's not
staying
coming
within
out.
Bruce.
Hey, Bruce.
Cheers, guys.
Bruce Banner. Bruce Banner.
But yeah, like,
Name's
it
Banner.
scared
Bruce
him to
Banner.
the point that he's just hidden. One thing I was sad about was the Moor, who was one of Thanos' children, how early he died, because he seemed to be pretty epically powerful.
Yeah, but
they were just like, "I'm going to shoot a wall in his spacecraft," and I was like, he seemed actually like he could be a cool villain.
I know, but they're most of Thanos' quote unquote children, including Gamora at one point, cool villains.
But so Thanos' children are basically survivors of the places which he's destroyed.
I don't know if that's 100% true, but Gamora definitely is.
He seems to adopt people, like train them up, teach them space combat or whatever, and then they usually are like cult of personality.
Exactly. I'm kind of getting back towards the point I was making before about
he's a very god.
The cult, sort of the fundamentalist viewpoint, the way he attracts followers.
But you're missing out that Bruce Banner gets loads of scenes in this, and it's great.
No, I know. I'm not.
Oh yeah, love Mark Ruffalo.
Obviously, from my point of view, I can hear the plot points that you're talking about, so I can see other things. And
it's like he's watched the movie, guys.
Very much so.
He should watch the movie, guys. You should too. I hope you have, having come this far.
What was the name of the other one? Gamora and there's...
Oh yeah, that's what I was trying. Nebula.
That's one. She's in the film too?
Yeah.
Oh,
she's the robotic one though, so I imagine
yeah.
she wasn't killed on her home planet. She was probably just made up parts.
No, I think because if you remember Guardians of the Galaxy 2, further spoilers, Gamora and Nebula's relationship was explored a bit more. They were both, fully organic people at one point.
She's augmented,
but every time Nebula lost a fight, Thanos was like, "You're not good enough, so I'm going to help you out." And cybernetic upgrades.
Yeah.
No, anesthetic does not exist. So yeah.
Yeah, what is that about?
She was super.
That's another sacrifice.
Yep.
That's another sacrifice right there. Is Thanos has Nebula and he's like got her in like some kind of stasis.
Oh,
she's sort
man,
of floating,
that
he's pulling her parts away.
That was
and
so
then she's
hard
like,
to watch.
And Gamora is the only one, like I said, who knows where the Soul Stone is. And then he's sort of like, okay, well if you don't tell me, then I'll just kill Nebula. And slowly is like pulling her parts away. And then like she's eventually like, yeah, okay, it's here. So there's another example of a hero who can't make a sacrifice of another to prevent what needs to be done.
Yeah, but man, that wrecked me a little bit watching that.
It's very screamy.
Yeah. It's quite
a robot
harsh.
torture is quite
like,
is a real thing, guys.
Robot torture. Well, but she's not a robot. That's the point. She's a person.
Well, you know, it's just short of actual blood.
Is it blue blood?
There were a few moments. Blue goop.
Oh, there was blue goop.
And green goop.
Lots of goop. Do you see any actual blood? I mean, other than the fact that you don't, do you?
Yeah, Thanos.
You don't see any blood.
Has a little bit.
But that's not, like I think that's more
alien blood. It's okay. It's
no,
a 12A.
No, I mean that's more
point,
of a joke. Is
yeah.
like that whole line is like Thanos has like this whole war on his home planet with like half of the group, I'd say, and then like gets a little cut and he's like, all that just for a drop of blood. And like I think that's more what it's for. It's more for his punchline. Like, but you don't really see anything. It's just a
scar,
like a little scratch across his cheek.
There aren't any giblets.
Yeah, there's no like. I mean, there are like some kind of moments where you know someone's got mashed up, but you don't actually see it, if that makes sense. Like, and then like you see like the aftermath on someone's face or something, and then they're like, grody.
Another technical term from cinema, right there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you wouldn't have learned all that if I'd have just. I mean, if you actually read the description. Thor, Hulk, and the rest of the Avengers unite to battle the most powerful enemy yet, the evil Thanos, on a twisted mission.
It is a twisted mission.
But
there are a lot of turns and twists.
They're not very depth creating. Like you say, obviously about like.
Well, they don't want to spoil it, Dan. Unlike us.
Something that is interesting to me. So I think Loki and Heimdall die right at the start.
Yeah, R.I.P.
And that's outside of Infinity Gauntlet stuff. So I think they're both dead.
Yep.
Vision gets the stone pulled from his skull, but goes white, which is kind of alluding to he might come back, because there's, and this I did look into, there is a comic book series where Vision loses his colour and becomes like someone else, and that's potentially alluding to that he might be something else.
Could well be, and they were throughout the whole film kind of the catch with Vision's stone is, well, you know, we can just take the stone off and most of them will still be there. But if you do it wrong, you mess him up.
Yeah,
it
so
might
tearing
be
it
the
out
same
is fine.
person.
Who was the other one that died? There was one more that died outside of Infinity Stone.
Gamora,
thank you.
Green
yes, that was it. Gamora died outside of Infinity Stone.
That was kind of...
Then, like big battle ensues. He clicks his fingers to wipe away 50% of the galaxy. You lose pretty much all of the Guardians of the Galaxy apart from Rocket. I think he's the only one at this point that's still alive.
Might well be. I think it's in it pretty much everyone but the original Avengers.
Well, that's what this will get to. Like Rocket's still alive, Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow,
Tony Stark.
Tony's still alive, although isolated and alone currently on the home planet of Thanos, because everyone else that was there disappeared.
No doubt freaking out.
Yeah. You're not sure about other superheroes potentially.
What about
Hawkeye? Not in the film, so maybe not.
Him and Ant-Man are both, and again that was a good little thing they brought up. It was because of the whole repercussions of Captain America. You know, if you're not registered and doing what basically the US government want, then they're going to put you under house arrest. And because both Ant-Man and Hawkeye have families, they're like, fam comes first.
But with those that remain, I have the feeling that those that are still alive are more likely to actually be continually dead.
Yeah.
It post second film.
They won't be brought back.
Than those that are killed by the Infinity Gauntlet. So there's a moment when he clicks the Infinity Gauntlet, it sort of cracks in his hand and looks like it's broken, and then he goes into sort of like
Dreamscape.
So you say Dreamscape. What I read into that was everything around him is orange. The Soul Stone is orange, and you see Gamora within that. He killed Gamora to retrieve the Soul Stone. So I have the feeling that everyone that was killed with the Infinity Gauntlet is trapped within the Soul Stone. That's my guess.
Do you reckon?
There's a Spider-Man Homecoming, like 2.
Yeah, I know. I just meant more.
I mean, without being too meta, but it's like, unless they do like a film, and
that's not going to be the next one
then,
release. They surely have to release the explanation.
And then
for this
something else a little bit meta as well is that, like you say, all of the original cast are alive. Can you really see Robert Downey continue to be Iron Man and doing more films? Can you really see Chris Evans continuing to be Captain America doing more films? Chris Hemsworth still continuing.
Well, no, but they've come to the end. They've come to the end of their run.
Yeah, no, I can see them still wanting to do more films, or potentially the production company having them do more films. But I just see it as a lot of them have already had trilogies, and they've already sort of wrapped up their personal stories. And so I think they're more likely to die than anyone else. I don't think the Hulk is, because I still think they're hopeful that they can get a standalone for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the ones that they've left alive are clearly people where they're like, you've had a good run. Over like 10, 12 years with us, like let's...
They'll
make a bold sacrifice.
He was...
and through their sacrifice, they bring the others back. And doing a little hand waving for everyone at home.
It might not even just be a sacrifice, it might just be more of a retirement. Like the whole thing, the Iron Man is just a man. You know, he's aging. He's
not aging that much.
He alluded to the family at the start as well, so
yeah.
He might end up going that way. Like I get the feeling that if you're still alive, you're more in danger of being permanently dead than anyone else, apart from the other 4 mentioned previous to that.
Yeah.
Because they actually were died. They actually were died outside of the Infinity Stone.
Yeah.
No, they died without the Infinity Stone killing them or just wiping them from existence. It seemed like. But yeah, especially because they've killed like the new superheroes, like Black Panther went, Spider-Man went, right, and it was kind of like, you've just really introduced those two.
Yeah.
I feel like you know that there's more to come from them, so you wouldn't have got rid of them at this point.
Yeah. So next year, final swan song for the OG Avengers.
Yeah, no, I really do believe it will be the case, and I think all of those that have been clicked away are back.
Do you reckon we'll get a little bit of catharsis? I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too. I'm really looking forward to seeing the Infinity War now.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, you've seen it.
Yeah, I feel like I have.
If you want to rewatch it, it's on at your local cinema.
That's very handy.
I'll tell you another moment that sort of got me was Thor, when he's in the spaceship with Rocket and Groot, and he's sort of talking, and Rocket's
taking
sort of like
stock of everything he's lost, and that's the moment, because all through Ragnarok people are like, well, he hasn't really like sat down and properly gone, oh wait, literally my entire life and culture is gone now.
Yeah, so like Rocket's like, oh, I'll go back and have a word with him. Sits there and he's like, oh, so how you doing? Like, oh, well, you know, sorry you lost your brother. And he's like, it's fine. And he's like, you got like anyone else you can talk to? He's like, my sister was killed after she blew up my hometown. He's like, father? He's like, stabbed or something like that. Yeah. He's like, what about your mother? Killed by a dark elf. And then it's like, oh, and he's like, what about your best friend? And he's like, stabbed through the heart. And it's like, wow.
And there's a solid moment as well where he's not just kind of saying it deadpan for jokes, but you can kind of see he's realising there is literally no one left.
I can kind of see him on the phone to the Samaritans, like.
He even says that as well. Rocket's like, oh, but what if this guy is like, because Thor's like, I've killed like so many people, and this is just another one. Like, it's not a problem. I'll be able to do it. And then Rocket's like, but what if you're wrong? He's like, what more do I have to lose? And it's kind of like, okay. And there's like a really epic moment. Thor goes away with giant dwarf Peter Dinklage, and then like crafts like his new hammer. By the way, taking the full force of a star to do so, which was epic. I get the feeling a little bit of Thor inside that hammer, because he like.
Well, no, he said that the whole point was that the previous star was like his. What was the name of his? Mjolnir. That was forged from a star as well.
Well, that's the thing. This
same forge, same star.
Were the thing is, star. But this time he had to open like the focus point for it and stand there as the star burnt through him to melt the metal. So he was standing there holding it open for a few minutes. So I'm kind of like, that was epic.
Yeah. Because usually it just kind of everything works fine. Yeah. Pretty chill making stuff from the start. It's your day-to-day job. Thanos came in, busted everything up. So yeah, first of all, Thor had to basically kickstart Orbit.
Yeah. It was mad.
Then after that, the basic giant focusing lens was shut, and so he had to hold it open. A better flex than Captain America's bicep porn in Civil War.
That's what I forgot happened. This was really cool.
Come on and flex.
So they create the sort of head of the axe hammer, and then it falls apart in 2 parts, and then Groot picks it up.
Because they were like trying to find a handle.
Cuts his arm off, so now the hammer like the hilt of it is made out of Groot's arm, and I was like, that's pretty cool. And it's also like genuinely like part of Thor must be in this hammer as well, because the star dug through him to melt the
bit
metal,
of a symbolism of old Avengers and new.
Yeah, so much where I was like, this is so cool. And then in the end, like after Thor's sort of been gone back to Earth and he's sort of like, yep, fuck you Black Panther, like get out of the way Captain America, no Black Widow, like just pushing them all out of the way, and then like eventually like comes up to the point where he could get the Infinity Stone, gets it, puts it on, and then Thor out of nowhere just lobs this axe, like it goes straight through, like sort of embeds itself in Thanos' chest, and he just sort of goes up to him and he's like, I told you I'd kill you, which is what he says at the start. And then Thanos is like, you should have aimed for the head, and it's like, oh no. And then there's like this slow sort of 2-minute scene of like the people that fade out of existence, and it's like the most anxiety I've ever had in a film is watching that scene, because it was like Black Panther running over to someone being like, this is no place to die, and then going to walk away and you just see him fade off and the person that he's like lifting up fall back and be like, what the shit? Like it's so good. And then like it goes back to like on Titan, and then you see like Doctor Strange be like, this was the only way, fade away, and then like the rest of them slowly go and you're like, what is happening? And then like Spider-Man being like, I don't want to go, and you're like, what? It's one of those films where I feel like you walk out and you genuinely feel speechless.
It was a proper moment of you. It took a minute to realise this is it. He won. Straight up, hands down. Also, you know, bearing in mind he was pretty much dead hit by that hammer. Like nothing else. Yeah, exactly. An entire elaborate scheme of 5 superheroes to land a scratch. Thor just chucks his hammer. Kaboom!
That was so cool. Because they're fighting.
Everything about it though. Like when he gets the hammer, he just rainbows his way back home.
Like I genuinely love the fact that they made Thor sort of like the epic hero of it. I don't know why, but there was something about it that was so cool. I think it's just because I'm in love with Chris Hemsworth, to be honest.
Well, no, I mean, if you look at his art, like as you said, he's lost everything. He's come from a place where and
he also was quite spoiled and petty on his first film.
Exactly.
And he's grown and he's matured, he's learned selflessness.
He's one of the only real characters, don't mean to be harsh, but there's actual growth.
You see the difference between the first film and Ragnarok, I think, in terms of how jokey it is.
Iron Man, has Iron Man really grown as a character?
Oh, not at all. Tony Stark's
still
stubborn.
He's the same character. Spider-Man, he's always the same.
I mean, we'll give this Spider-Man a chance, though.
We'll give it, but all of the characters maintain. The Hulk is exactly the same character in every film. But
I think the Hulk's grown as well. Weirdly enough, I think Ragnarok was used as an interesting growing point for like Thor got more jokey, but he also kind of mellowed out a little bit and took on a bit more of a leadership role. Thor Ragnarok was also basically co-starring the Hulk, who actually held conversations, was chill sometimes, was mad some other times. I want to whisper that a little louder for everyone at home.
I didn't really like Ragnarok. I didn't
feel like they made it a bit of a joke for the sake of making a joke film. Didn't mean I didn't enjoy it, because I did appreciate Thor and Hulk having like, ever since that moment where I think it was the first Avengers film where they're together and then they're both just standing there and for no reason Hulk just punches him through the wall. Like ever since that moment I've kind of been like, these two just need to have like their own sort of like comedy film, and I'm glad they did it because I did appreciate it, but then I'm also glad they brought it back down to earth at the start of this like film where it's like stab, Heimdall's dead, like choke, alright, Loki's dead, and then all of a sudden it was like, okay, Thor's back to being Thor, because then he comes in out of nowhere when they're doing this battle on Earth, gets his axe, which has the Bifrost built into it, so he shoots back to Earth, and then just in the middle of like this full-scale invasion, just sort of going around like solo, like blowing everything up, like I am lightning, and it's like,
and this is why it's kind of made me excited to watch it, because in every one of the Thor films, including Ragnarok, you're kind of waiting for Thor to become Odin. Like Odin is this beast that is controls the realms. He's one of the most powerful beings, probably the only one that Thanos couldn't confront. Like that was the other thing. Odin was like a check to Thanos, and now Odin is dead. Thanos now can go about his.
That's true.
And you're kind of waiting for Thor to take on that mantle, and he never does. Even when in Ragnarok he's fighting Hera, like. He doesn't become it. Like, okay, he's got some stronger lightning.
He's approaching it.
You know what I mean? He doesn't become the person he's supposed to be.
There is a moment.
Do you not feel like he's the God of Thunder until kind of this moment where literally the combined might of all the other Avengers, there's just too many of them. And then Boom.
You can't make a talking point. You just have to make noise and do hand actions. Like
Words fail me.
But that's what I mean. That's okay. That sounds like actual like final growth, and he's
just not godly enough for Dan.
No. Don't misconstrue what I'm trying to say. I think that's great. I think it sounds really good that he's had that full character arc growth, and he's one of the only ones that does. That's what I'm saying. That very few of the other characters do.
He finally shows the intelligence to be like, I know where we can get a weapon to kill Thanos. Let's go do that before we just go in a thundery rampage right at him.
Yeah.
In revenge, like, because most people will be like, you just killed my brother. You just killed my best friend.
Yeah.
I'm coming after you right now, which is pretty much what everyone else did
Yeah.
to a certain extent. Whereas he was like, I'm going to go away. I'm going to get something that can kill you, and I'm going to come back and I will.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, I mean, isn't.
Which is very different from the way he was in the first film, where it was just completely reactionary, spoilt, way too egotistical, believed his own power. When you compare, and then if you would think about the way he was in the first film to presumably in Infinity War, he wouldn't have ever stood a chance against Thanos. But he would have tried anyway. But he understands his limitation by Infinity War, and so he's willing to actually grow and go and find the tools that he needs.
Still the greatest Thor moment is in the first one when he's in the coffee shop and he drinks it, and then he's like, another! He's like, smashes on the floor. That's like the only joke in that entire film, but it is by far the best joke.
No, it's not. There's some really
so
good ones.
good.
The ones in the hospital is pretty good as well, where he's like, I am the god of... And he's like, just sedate him. You cannot stop me!
Best film moment.
Or what in Infinity War? I think it would either have to be when Thor just shows up out of nowhere in that whole sequence, or weirdly enough, because I think it was a moment where I was like, come on, win at least once, when Captain America and crew show up that first time. Because sort of seeing that silhouette, the dramatic irony of, we know what's coming, we're waiting for it to pay off, and then kind of saying, oh yeah, they are Earth's mightiest heroes, how about that?
I'd say Spider-Man's death for me. I know, not like... Hey,
I feel like you really relate to Spider-Man.
Yeah, a little.
Yeah, I can see
but there was a moment there where I was a bit like, oh, this has hit me. And that was probably, just in terms of like the extreme of emotion I felt, that was probably the moment I was most hit by and was like, this is horrible to watch.
I mean, you're right. The trouble is I think I'm too soon, and having only seen it once, all of it is kind of, oh, wow.
That one got me.
I mean, heck, just so many moments.
So many moments.
There are a lot of classic moments. Even the moment where Thanos first appears on Titan, his home world, he does his little glove magic and then goes, this is what it used to be like.
He does his little glove magic.
He does.
Underselling it.
What, is he like Dynamo?
He's only altering reality, it's no big deal.
Oh, it's all a trick. I get it.
I mean, if you look just at his hand, he just does a little wiggle of the finger.
It's not even a trick, he's genuinely altering reality. It's completely undersold finger magic.
To be fair, the moment where the Guardians try and come at him, he just does the little wiggle finger trick. And oh man,
he has to clench his fist to use it, so I don't know where you're getting this wiggle idea
Alright,
from.
sorry. I was trying to avoid the anime cliche, looks at your fist clenched really hard and then makes it all right.
Makes it all wrong.
See, I feel like that would have really added to the film if it had a Dragon Ball Z like...
That's what made it so great, is that he genuinely didn't need to. It was like it was one of the times where you watch those films and you in all of the films you're sort of waiting for that moment where, because they always have the hero's been knocked back and been made to look really easy, then they have this comeback and like this whole sort of arc over the film of, I need to get back to this point where I can overthrow them.
Yeah.
Like even Thor Ragnarok, it's like, Hela's turned up, she just destroyed Mjolnir, oh god, I'm done. And it's like this whole arc getting back up to a point where he's like, I am thunder. Like, but with this film, it was like you're always waiting for that moment to kick in, and it never does.
Yeah, they come back.
I think that's what I like about a good film.
Yeah.
Like, and when you were saying at the beginning is probably better than Shawshank, or at least as good as...
No, just in terms of IMDb.
Yeah. But no,
don't worry, Dan, you got vindicated within 5 minutes.
Oh no, I'm not defending... Like, Shawshank's got its problems, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just the expectation. The whole point of a good film is that it denies the expectation. It doesn't, like, pander to a
classic Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
but
exactly. Game of Thrones, season 1 to 5.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoy any spectacle like that, where it doesn't necessarily give you the expectation that you've already had coming into it. It kind of like does as something that you don't expect, and this. I mean, because it's a two-part. I did kind of expect Thanos to win this part. I'm not gonna lie, because it does feel like if you look at a Marvel film,
it's the
and then
back.
This is the point where the heroes have been knocked back in those films, and then the next one you get there, come back, and then they're defeating.
Okay,
so it's still going to go that way. It's just who is going to die.
But that's the nature of modern filmmaking, though. Like the nature of modern filmmaking is 10 years ago or 20 years ago, a film was a 90-minute cinematic experience. But now, I mean, if you look at Harry Potter or something like any film that you might pick, Lord of the Rings,
Infinity War, for instance.
Well, yeah, but they're a 6-hour, a 12-hour, an 18-hour journey, and it's just divided into arbitrary lines, and that's the whole point of Infinity War. Yeah, you say, well, it's left it on a horrific ending, it denied your expectations, but it hasn't. It's just cut in such a way.
When Gabe was saying before, like, you still got another one to look forward to, I would be satisfied if it ended. That was it. If that was it, and they were just like, we can't find Thanos, and they all go back off to their own thing, I would be completely satisfied with that. And in the weirdest, most like messed up way, I'd sort of look at that and be like, yeah, I mean, that film was great, and leave it as it is, because it was so good.
Yeah.
It was
the old irrevocable change and having to deal with the fallout.
Well,
but at the end of the day,
human event. Which
at the end of the day, these are based on comic books, so you know it's going to spin around. Like, you know it's going to be the hero wins after all.
Oh,
like,
there'll be a reboot.
It's always.
I do love the fact that we've been saying for about an hour now. It's so grounded. It's so real. Giant wrinkly purple chin guy boxes giant green guy. He's got.
Why'd you put it down?
Am I looking green?
A little bit.
Really? Boxes giant green guy.
He's got a glove that he puts bling on and basically changes reality to his will.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. It really does look like something Link's pulled out of the chest. Like,
we didn't say that the things that happen within the film are real and grounded. We said the people within it are.
But no, that's
grounded.
what's so great is you can have this whole universe where gods, space, magic, time travel, nanotechnology, and you're kind of like, yeah, that's cool. But you're there for like the people.
I just thought of a line you really appreciate. So having like a standoff. I think some of the Guardians of the Galaxy have already made it to Titan before Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and Iron Man arrive, and they have like a little fight and standoff because they each think the other one is like Thanos' minions. And then Doctor Strange is sort of like standing there. He looks at Quill and he's like, "Who is your master?" And then Quill was like, "What am I supposed to say, Jesus or something?" And I was just like...
I also love that Peter Quill is very much from the 1970s.
There's that moment where they're talking about Footloose, and he's talking to Spider-Man, and he's like, "Footloose is still the greatest movie ever, right?" Yeah. It's so good. Like, this is the beauty of it. There's so many of these epic sad moments. Like, every moment hits you at the right moment with the right emotion that you're meant to feel, and it's so good. Like, even the Thor one, he's sort of laughing, joking about people dying a little bit. And then, like, it sort of goes on the conversation, and then he sort of hits that line that brings you back down, like, oh, no shit, actually, he's feeling this.
Yeah.
Like, that's how good it is. Like, it's like every delivery is so on point.
It's just good storytelling.
Yeah.
Who's the director?
I have no idea. Props to you.
Anthony Russo and John Russo.
The Russo bros.
The Russos.
The Russo brothers.
They're just cousins.
And Randall as well. It actually does say
well,
Jeremy
there goes
Renner
that
was actually in the film, and maybe he was. Do you not remember?
Jeremy.
Wasn't it?
He was.
Guy. It says he was in the film.
He just definitely wasn't.
Clint Barton.
Definitely wasn't in the
Maybe
film.
he's just like asking, "Oh, guys, I know I'm in."
Maybe he's like the editor's cut.
Do you mind just put my name in?
Or it could
like
be they include his name so you don't know going in.
Potentially, yeah. Or
he's an extra in the background.
That's what I was about to say. There could be a moment where he is just probably like scoping out like a tower or something, and
he's
like you see him in the background
with his bow. Like,
you're doing nothing.
Hunting.
Hunting.
Just doing some target practice.
But yeah, it's one to watch.
Yeah.
For sure. There's a lot of Iron Man, Doctor Strange banter. Like, Iron Man keeps referring to Doctor Strange as the wizard and stuff like that. It's hilarious. Like, Spider-Man's like, "What do I need to do?" And he's like, "There is a wizard with a stone. Go help the wizard." It's like hilarious.
I mean, how else can you describe him?
It just makes me laugh how deadpan he says it, because it's like, at this point, he cannot be like taken off by anything. Like, everything is so normal now that he's just like, "Oh, it's a wizard, okay."
One point I touched on a minute ago is the fact that now Odin's dead.
Mhm.
and Thanos, he was one of the few people within the universe that had the power to stop Thanos.
Mhm.
And the other one I remember reading about was Peter Quill's dad.
Oh,
yeah.
Ego. Yeah, that's also
Ego.
true.
So he was the only. I mean, obviously he had his own designs on what he wanted to do, but he was one of the other beings that could
Makes
stop.
sense.
So it
But
was.
there was a
Makes
third,
sense.
and I can't remember what the third was.
I think that makes sense on the basis of, if you remember the original Avengers film where they all get together, the alien invasion is held by Thanos.
Yeah.
And that tells me, especially looking at his flashback where they're invading Gamora's homeland and he's there, I think that's part of it then.
Yeah.
Is that he hasn't got too involved because he knows that these entities are out there.
Yeah.
Like at this point, it's already been well established that Thor has a connection to Earth and it's under the protection of Asgard.
Yeah.
So why would Thanos go there himself
Yeah.
and like risk the sort of backlash?
And it's also the sort of, at that point he only had one stone, if that.
Well, I mean, I don't want to get into all the other, because I mean, there's loads of characters about that could beat them. Like
Definitely not Manhattan.
Well, no, but I mean, like the Living Tribunal and the One Above All and all those guys. But those are all people that exist outside of what Marvel's put in the films. But within the films, you've definitely got Odin, Ego, and there is a third one.
The truth is, you're not 100% sure.
Yeah.
With anything that's not been put in the films yet, you're not 100% sure whether it exists in the Marvel Cinematic Universe or not. Yes.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theory.
So like they always do their little extra clip at the end. The extra clip is Nick Fury and the woman from How I Met Your Mother. Forget her name. The actress
Oh, yeah.
who plays Robin.
Ooh, actually, that's a point.
But yeah, anyway, so at the end of the film, they both also get like whisked away, like out of existence.
Mhm.
And as that happens, like Nick Fury clicks his pager to call in Captain Marvel.
Mm.
The film that's coming out is going to be set in the 90s. So now they've got to come up with a reason as to why Captain Marvel never got involved in any of the Avengers, in any of the other events. So that'll be interesting because now they've done that. It's like,
so they're going to
put her on ice as well. Do a Captain America with her.
Well, I don't mean to throw a spanner in your like emotional works, but then Spider-Man 2 is most likely going to be a retrospective film.
You don't know that.
Yeah, no, I don't know that, but like, when does Spider-Man 2 release?
Oh, I'm not sure.
If it's before the Avengers,
I think it is before the next Avengers, but I also don't. I think they have to make it a retrospective film to not spoil the next one if it is before.
And there wouldn't be any problem with that. It'd be fine to put it in between the two events happening.
But I still think he's coming back. I still think all of the people that are dead are coming back.
I agree.
I think it's if you're alive now, you're more likely to be dead. Like
I'm going to be honest though, I really don't want to see another Spider-Man film involving the Green Goblin. I'm just so fed up.
I really want to see another Spider-Man film involving Venom, played by Tom Hardy's Venom. Like looks sick.
Yeah.
Like put them to the amount of what they should do. Right, is screw the Avengers.
Well, we've reached that point. I think we're on a 5-minute cooldown now.
Screw what they should do. Screw the Avengers, right? Let's just like start the anti-hero team. Let's get Deadpool and Venom in a room together, and they can plan, and they should work out who another 3 people they want on their team, and let's run with Deadpool, Venom, and 3 other cool anti-heroes, and make that story. Not Suicide Squad. Not that,
really?
even though that was DC.
Such a great
not
film.
That. But I reckon if they did it starting with Venom and Deadpool, they could probably make a really good anti-hero group.
I think they might, because Venom's is a Sony film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Deadpool's a Sony success, and Deadpool's bringing in a lot of kind of other members of the X-Men to kind of round that out.
X-Force.
What's the
sorry,
that's not even a Deadpool joke. That's a legitimate comic, and it's a genuine group that's formed as anti-heroes against the X-Men.
Well, there we go.
That is.
So your wish might be coming true.
Because it's done as a mick take of in like the trailer anyway. I also feel like the comic book, it's a mick take of Deadpool because he always has that like relationship with the X-Men where he's a bit like, get out of the way, and like. You've seen Deadpool, right? Where he
I've seen.
mugs off Wolverine throughout the whole thing. Like that's always been their relationship. It's been like he just mugs off Wolverine all the time. So that's why X-Force becomes a thing. So he's sort of taking the mick out of the X-Men. He's like, and then that's in the trailer as well. He's like, we can be X-Force, and he's just like, for God's sake.
I just also love the fact that the immediate line after is it's a little derivative, don't you think?
I kind of hope the Indian taxi driver actually turns out to be some epic superhero.
He's great.
Bundle was my cousin. He's such a great actor. I love him so much. That relationship with him too.
Issues with the X-Men because, like, okay, this is a quick tangent, but Xavier
Now officially leaving Avengers
yeah,
Infinity War.
I think we need to divert off it a little bit. We can continue next episode if you really want to. But let me go and watch it, and then we can have a.
Oh my
a
gosh,
sum up.
movie night, Luke.
Because then you'll talk about fundamentalism.
Well, I might, but no. But I'm not going to leave the subject of fundamentalism. Tell me why Charles Xavier is not a cult leader employing child soldiers. He is.
Because it's a comic book.
Have you tapped the table enough, Dan?
A little bit, yeah, but I wanted to enunciate.
Because it's a comic book. Like, this is what I'm saying. I hate the fact that, like, I get why people love it because they are classic superheroes, and I get why they were originally made was to give people hope, like during the war and stuff like that. But at this point, I'm kind of like, scrap the comic book. Like, write your own epic stories with it, genuinely, because otherwise I always know the hero's going to come back around. Or, with that, do more of what the comic books do and kill more people more often, but actually leave them dead.
Well, actually, I'm really glad you made this point.
You're just annoyed that it's the whole hitting the reset button every time, so that it's a nice clean slate for the next writer.
This is what I had a chat with you about a few weeks ago.
Oh, but Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
It's because they're just milking the cash cow, and that's what annoys me about it. And then they're telling the same story over and over again. You don't need to do that.
He's like Ant-Man, but he's evil.
No, it's Thor. We talked about Thor already and about how his character's grown. But if you look at him, we talked about this before in terms of how he is with Loki. How many times do we have heartfelt Loki deaths?
Yeah.
And he's always back. And so you have these real moments of growth, and there was one in Thor 2, the one where he dies on the planet, but then obviously in the next film he's come back as Odin. But he has this really deep, heartfelt death, and like, you know, Thor's like, oh man, my brother's dead.
And yet,
but he died for a reason, and he was good in the end. And then he comes back and it's a joke, and he's having like grapes on the veranda, and it's like, well, this is no growth.
What I think should happen is, with someone like Thor, be like, your trilogy's done, we'll put you on the shelf for now. Like, say you go back and you take over Asgard and you need to refocus on rebuilding your people.
I don't think there is Asgard.
I don't think there is either, but you know what I mean? Like, you go rebuild like your civilization in your own realm, sort of stay there for a while, and then let's say 6-7 years down the line, once you've got to a point where people have forgotten about Thor as a hero, you have like the next Avengers film and just bring him out of nowhere for like a 10-minute bit or something. Like, there's a war going on that could, like,
he's in the shawarma joint.
No, you know what I mean? Like the world could actually, like, say the next Thanos or something that comes along with like the next group of Avengers, like, which will likely be like Black Panther, Spider-Man, those people, and then out of nowhere Thor. I know that would be a bit cliche in terms of telling the same story, but then I'd be like, if you've removed him from it so much that you can bring him back in for like a 5-minute fight or something. Like, even if it's just at the start of the film, the first time they fight him, Thor comes in like, I've got you boys, and he gets beaten up by the bad guy. That would be cool.
Well, Thor can be a character that you bring back continually because, you know, his lifespan is 10,000 years. He is a god. Like, but he's just an Asgardian. You do need to like display vulnerability. You do need to display loss, and it needs to have consequence. And I agree. Like, more people need to die.
Yeah, I know it's so bad.
It's pretty bad.
More people need to.
This is how you end up with 40 odd Avengers.
Exactly. I mean, by this rate, they should have avenged it already. I mean, what the hell? But
I mean, it's like the first film when Tony Stark's like, we might not be able to defend Earth, but we'll sure as hell avenge it. I'm like, you've got the chance to avenge it now.
No, come on, that is one of the most cringeworthy lines.
I think it's a cringeworthy line, just in terms of, it's like, if you're trying to save the planet, do you really want to be avenging it? Because that means we're already gone, mate.
Yeah.
You've not done a very good job, have you?
Great job, Tony. But all those billions in defence research.
Even the name itself feeds into your reactionary point. Like, that's what they are. Is something happens, they avenge that situation. Like, and that's all it really has been. Like, just mix it up. That's all I want. I just want to mix up. Just a different.
That's what they'll probably call the fourth film.
That was loud.
I know. I wanted to make a point. Avengers finally getting around to avenging it.
Just something different would be nice, I suppose. Like, because I get the feel I'm going to dislike part 2 unless they make a really, really good like storyline for it. Like, Silver Surfer comes out of nowhere and actually turns out Galacticos kills Thanos, and now we've got Galacticos to deal with.
The Fantastic Four.
Nah,
they're just dead at this
Fantastic
point.
Four.
In the universe, like in terms of the comic book universe, in terms of MCU, I don't know.
They're Marvel, aren't they?
Yes, that's what I mean. Like,
the comics are owned by Marvel, the film rights are owned by Sony. It's just Sony have given up on.
Technically, Deadpool, the X-Men, Fantastic Four,
yeah,
all of them should exist within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but they don't.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, because of the
movie rights.
Because of movie
Yeah.
rights, but it's weird. It's like if ever the movie rights do transition, then it's likely. Well, I get the feeling they'll either just get new actors,
Yeah.
or I mean, the only two options: get new actors or bring in the old cast. But I think they're more likely to get new actors.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what normally will happen, isn't it? They'll bring in.
I
some
hope
fresh
they
faces.
don't with Deadpool or Venom if they do eventually get those rights.
I doubt they would with Deadpool because
I don't
Deadpool's
think
been
they'll
such
bring-
a.
I
I
don't
mean,
think
Ryan
they'll bring
Reynolds
him in.
kind of
Also,
made that role, wasn't
I don't think they'll
Ryan,
bring him in.
Ryan Reynolds' life goal is to become Deadpool, and he's finally done it. He's Hugh Jackman of a role.
Yeah, I don't think they'll get Deadpool just because of how successful it's been standalone. They don't need him to be in the group.
He's kind of got
I
his own
think
thing.
I think you lose so much of Deadpool if you don't make the film about him.
Yeah, if you make him a side part, he's not really going to have the same.
He has like one or two lines that might hit, and then you'll be like, "But that's it." Like,
And it'll also
also
be
his-
gimmicky.
yeah,
Yeah, it
His
will be-
brand of comedy only works with him as the
the star.
focal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Deadpool 2's out this year, I think.
Yeah.
isn't it?
The Fantastic Four would be interesting to bring in.
So you didn't like the recent one, obviously.
No, I didn't. The Fantastic.
So for the viewer's pleasure, like when I said, "Oh, it was okay," Gabriel's reaction was like,
Wait, so this was what ones are you like? The original Fantastic
No,
Four or
not-
the reboot?
the reboot in the
I
2015.
really don't like the
I've
reboot.
not seen the reboot.
The original one was
Okay.
kind of
Oh,
so.
look, they can't even bring in the actors. Michael B. Jordan played the Human Torch, and he's just played Black Panther's.
No, they have to bring in new actors, but I think
Steve Rogers,
Yeah, but
sorry,
they
Chris
could-
Evans played the original Human
Human
Torch,
Torch.
who's now
Oh,
goes on to
right.
big things.
I
Jessica
think
Alba played the Invisible Woman.
I actually think I've just had a moment of pop culture. If I remember rightly, the guy they've got playing Hawkeye is going to be playing the Human Torch, and that's why they didn't play him as Infinity War, because he's going to be taking the part of the Human Torch in an upcoming film.
no, I think
Really?
you've got it wrong.
I think I have.
No, don't have him as the Human Torch. Surely
Maybe not the Human Torch. Hawkeye.
Jeremy
Not
Renner.
even Mr. Fantastic, and those are really your only two options. He's not going to play Brick or whatever he's called.
I think he's not going to be in the Fantastic Four, but I think he is going to become a different character. Maybe something will happen to Hawkeye in the next film,
Yeah,
and
that
he
would make
becomes a
more
different.
sense to me.
Because when your gimmick is bows and arrows, and you're starring alongside an actual wizard.
He says that line, I think, in
Oh,
the
sorry,
second one. It's
sorry,
like
yeah.
we're fighting robots, and I've got a bow and arrow. Like none of this makes sense.
It's not related to the
I think
Fantastic
it's-
Four, but he's supposed to be going to become Ronin, which is a separate character that he'll change into with a dark. So maybe something happens with his family.
Oh,
He's
okay,
given,
yeah. I mean,
but
the old finger snap would make sense because that could be 50% of his family
Yeah,
at
so-
random, which could actually be his entire family.
well, the whole point is that the Ronin in Japanese it stands for like warriors without an lord. So presumably he's sort of given up on the government and he's no longer in shill to them. So
Definitely
that
not the
does-
Human Torch.
That does make sense though,
Yeah.
on the basis of
Yeah,
he's
he's
already
not-
given up on the government.
Well,
He was part of Captain America's
in a
squad
way.
of,
Yeah, but
like,
he was kind of fighting for, like, I suppose maybe then he'd become like, a bit like Gamora, like where he's sort of homeless.
Well, I think what happened was the reason he wasn't in Infinity War was because he was in a rock and a hard place with the government basically court-martialing his entire family.
you don't need a superhero like that to be in the film anyway. Like I don't think he'd add anything.
No,
I think that was a big part of it as well. Like in truth, like I do like
It
him in the
wasn't
films that
his
he's in, but
place.
he doesn't add much.
yeah.
I mean, even in the first Avengers, they kind of made
Yeah.
him seem a bit redundant when Loki just mind controlled him. Like, boop, okay, you're out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've managed to do a full
Yes, we definitely have.
almost 70 minutes on Infinity War. So
Such a good film.
you might have to tune in for a future episode for The God of War.
If
Yeah.
you haven't
We never
seen
got around to
Infinity
talking
War
about
yet,
Total War.
listen to this podcast,
Yeah.
and you will have seen
The old
Infinity War.
play-by-play.
We
I might discuss the Fantastic Four next time, because I reckon there are ways they could be brought in which don't involve Jeremy Renner.
Oh, the Fantastic Four war.
It's not all. It's not all war, Dad.
It is war. We didn't get around to Total War.
Sometimes it's a bank heist.
We did get around to talking about your dress sense though. Most of the rest of it.
Well, yeah, somehow. But yeah. Also tune in next time. I might discuss Lost in Space.
Yes. That Gabriel has become very much into Lost in Space.
I got lost in space. At
Although
one
I
point.
might have spoiled some plot points for him earlier.
Yeah, a little bit.
Don't worry, we've not spoiled Infinity War for you.
No, to be fair, I enjoy it though because I will go and watch it now, and all of these sort of conversations we've had, and I will, when I'm watching it, it will sort of soak in. It will make it more sort of.
How long before you watch the can rip?
I don't know what you mean. I always wait for the 7:20 hand.
I know I do. I don't know about you.
I feel like maybe I'm the only one who paid to get tickets.
I don't.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm hurt.
I made a little day out of it.
No. Going to sit in the cinema, guys, is the best experience. I mean, the screen's like 30 foot across. Of course, it is.
It was about 30 foot across.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So to sum up Avengers War, if you leave me now, you take away the greatest part of me.
Someone needs to work on their lyrics.
Baby, please don't go. I've been Gabe.
You have been Gabe.
It was great.
I've been Luke.
I've been Dan.
Boo.
And you've been you. Boo, 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 boo.
Always be open to new ideas.
Oh, we had a solid ending there, Dan, and you went and one-linered all over it.
I'm just trying to prevent future Thanoses.
One line. Yeah, that works so well for the Avengers.
Well,
The big stick.